So really happy to be here, even if it is virtually. I wish I was there with you guys, but I'm in Atlanta, Georgia right now for Thanksgiving with my family. What I'm doing now, I'm working for a company called Hugo Technologies. It's based in the U.S., but all of our staff is spread across Africa. We do business process outsourcing, much like you've heard. Indian companies are usually where people are doing their customer support, things like that. We're trying to disrupt that market, especially for companies that, for example, big companies that have a presence in Africa, but all of their outsourced processes are being sent to India. So we're approaching those companies and saying, hey, you have a presence in Africa. Why are you outsourcing everything to India? So we're trying to disrupt that market. We've been around for 4 years. We now have 1,200 staff spread across Africa. We've got headquarters in Lagos, Nairobi, and Dakar. And we have staff that speak English, French, we have Portuguese, and we have Swahili, and we've got about 32 indigenous languages. So we can do business processes in multiple languages, which is also another competitive advantage that we have over Indian BPOs. I'll tell you about how we grew so quickly. We're a 4-year-old company. We started off with 15 employees a couple of years ago, and just struggling away, trying to eat away at the status quo of, hey, outsource everything to India or to the Philippines. And then COVID happened. And here's what happened is you've got in India, you have these massive business process outsourcing companies that have offices with cubicles with thousands, sometimes tens of thousands of people crammed together in an office. And when COVID hit, all of that was completely disrupted. And now these companies, they struggled to be modern workforce. How do you have these people work from home? Most of them didn't have internet at home. They weren't prepared for it. So as a result, all of the companies out there that were depending on business process outsourcing in India, they're struggling to try to figure out how they're going to get things done. And we got really lucky that we knew the head of supplier diversity at Facebook, and Facebook had a massive machine learning algorithm training department that the work was not getting done because it was outsourced to India. These Indian companies could not meet up with modern work and how work under COVID was going to be. And so we said, hey, we can do this. We started our company as a distributed workplace with a hybrid environment. Most people work from home. And so they said, okay, cool. Let's try it. And so we went overnight from 15 employees to 650 employees because we were able to meet the demands of modern work and how COVID had changed everything. I'm happy to take questions too. This originally was going to be a panel discussion, so I didn't have a formal presentation ready. But if you have questions, feel free to interrupt. Happy to chat, or we can talk some more about the end. But basically, one of the issues that we face, and one of the things that the clients ask us, for example, the big companies that we work with, and we work with some huge ones, they said, hey, how are you going to ensure the security of our client data if everybody is working from home? And, the obvious solution is over VPN. Many of our clients provide us with their own VPN. For example, Facebook, we don't provide anything. We just log straight into their VPN. We use their systems on their end. Most of our clients are like that. We have a couple clients where we have some tools online that we use that are our own, but all of the work is being done over VPN. So I think as a CIO, that's one of your challenges. If you've got this distributed workforce, you've got to make sure that your clients are comfortable with the fact that their data is going to be secure. So I think one of the biggest things that COVID did for everyone is it changed the whole concept of work. Work is no longer a place. And if work is not a place, then, one of the questions people ask is, well, how do I make sure that my employees are working? And how do I make sure that they're meeting their targets and all of that? And then, the response is, how did you know they were working before? Just because you saw them in the office does not mean they were working. It's like now you need to measure, you need to have KPIs. And, it wasn't super important back then because, you could walk into your office and you see, especially if you're a bank, we had a lot of bankers here. You walk into the bank and you see there's cubicles of people working. They're tapping on their, so of course they're working. So, work wasn't as KPI driven as it has to be now. Now, if you've got your staff distributed all around, could be even all around the world, you can't tell they're working. You can have Skype calls with them or Zoom calls, but you don't really know what they're working unless you're measuring that. So I think one of the future of work is really more KPI driven, not place driven. How are people working? Are they getting the work done? Are things happening? So really, you need to be data driven in how your work is being measured. And I think another huge paradigm shift that happened during COVID is that, it used to be that the way companies were structured and the way they were managed was top down. You have management, you have your CEO, you have your CIO, and they're telling everybody this is how work is going to be, and this is how we're going to work, and you're going to show up at this office, you're going to do this, X. But now, all of a sudden, you've got this method of working, which is working from home, over video calls, and the management is not comfortable with that because the management's older, and that's not how they were raised and how they learned how to work. But you've got these kids who've been doing Zoom calls, and video chatting with their friends and posting videos constantly. They're very comfortable with it. This is an okay way to work. So now, the top-down edicts of this is how you're going to work isn't working because you've got all these millennials and biennials who are saying, no, that doesn't work for me. I'm working from home. I'm used to working this way. So what you really have to do, especially as a leader in a company, is you need to listen to the younger people below you. How do they work? How are they comfortable working? During COVID, what were the things that they really liked about work? And then you've got to be ready for that. COVID caught everybody off guard. Everyone reacted to COVID. Okay, so it's like, oh shoot, how are we going to work? How are we going to get the people working? How are we going to communicate? How do we make sure people can collaborate? It was incredibly reactive. Well, now that that's happened, now is the chance to be proactive because COVID may go away, but this style of work, this remote distributed teams is not going away, and so you can just keep reacting to it and trying to figure out, hey, how am I going to manage this? Or you can start saying, hey, what is the future of work going to look like? And if you really want to know, you need to start asking the kids that went to school during COVID, because the way that they learn how to learn is the way that work is going to be in 10 years. When those guys hit the workforce, they're more comfortable getting things done and working over Zoom calls than they are being in an office. And you've got to figure out from them, okay, how do I change the nature of my company in order to meet up with that? So, the work has changed. The paradigm of work has changed so much that, if you think that you're going to just take these kids and mold them to the way that you used to work, it's not going to work. Here's the problem. Half of those kids are going to go and start their own companies, and they're going to compete with your company. And they're going to do it faster. They're going to do it better. And if you don't learn how to adjust your company, they're going to eat your lunch. So those are some of the great things that COVID did about the nature of work. Completely changed it, and you've got to learn to adapt to it. Otherwise, you're gonna lose out to the competition.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Rich. I think that's really profound. That people will be measured via their KPIs, not really whether you're in the office or not. That has left the bus. Interesting. The future of work is, I always say, I think the future of work will be hybrid. So you work from wherever you are at any time. I'm told there's some morning people and night people, so you have to be, I don't know how to do that. But anyway, so any questions from the audience on the future of work before we release Rich? Rich, what are the critical things that somebody needs to think about when okay, I know COVID did it, but now in a more organized way, what are the things that somebody needs to think about when you want to have a distributed workforce?
Yeah, I think one of the really important things to realize is that the borders are completely fading. I mean, we have a workforce that's spread all across Africa. We don't even notice. You know, we don't know where they are. You know, it doesn't matter, and you can take advantage of that. I mean, the only reason we exist is because we were able to take advantage of the labor arbitrage and have a style of work that the Indians couldn't keep up with. But that doesn't mean that somebody else can't do the same thing. I mean, you can have staff working from anywhere in the world. They don't need visas. You know, you can pay them out of different accounts so that you don't have to worry about currency and all of that. So really, if you're sourcing for talent, you can source for that talent anywhere in the world. You don't have to now say, okay, all my talent's going to be here. Find the best people that you can get at the lowest price, and employ them.
I think my question is, how do you ensure that employees are focused and are less distracted? Because you realize at home there are so many distractions, maybe from children, from other priorities. So how do you ensure that employees are focused and have dedicated time to work?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, I think, the way that, I would say I'm an older person. The way that older person looks at work is you get focused, you sit, in an office or a cubicle, you're focusing on what you're doing, and, you get the work done. But, modern work doesn't have to be like that. It doesn't have to be the same concept of how we've been working. I think the people the younger workers, like say, people who are 15, 18, 20, 22, they work and they will want to work how they play a video game. And the way they play a video game is they're doing things really quickly, collaborating in real time with people while they're doing it. So they're multitasking, they're chatting with, dozens of people all over the world. They're, shooting things or doing adventures or whatever, all at the same time. And we need to adjust work for that kind of brain instead of trying to adjust the brain to that kind of work.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Rich, for coming in and giving us your insights on the future of work. We appreciate that. And we, at CIO Africa, we were actually forced to just flow with it. It was difficult to, I'm one of those guys. Yes, I'm one of those guys who want to see people in the office. But we quickly realized that actually it's not about having people in the office. It's really people need to be driven by the outcome, the results. But it's a difficult lesson for seniors like myself. But we are learning. So thank you very much, Rich. And
You're welcome.
We'll release you to the rest of your day. Thank you.
Great. Hopefully next year I'll see you there.
Yes, we hope we'll have you in person. Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh,
all right.
1 minute, 1 minute, Rich. 1 minute. There's somebody who has a question.
Hello, Rich. Thank you for that. Just a quick question. Where do you see it ending up? I think in Kenya here we're seeing certain organizations starting to go back to the office. So how do you see it ultimately settling? I know it's an unfair question possibly, but what are your thoughts?
Yeah. No, I think definitely you'll have some return to the office, and there's certainly some utility to having people in the same room. But all of the startups, I work with a lot of startups, I advise a lot of startups, and friends with a lot of people who have startups, and all of them don't have offices. And you've got companies that have 30 employees scattered around the world. They've never once stood in front of each other. And they, just raised Series A, Series B, hundreds of millions of dollars. They've never had an office. So, if you're a company that has an office and you're, used to the traditional way of work, these guys who can build companies in seconds and hire teams from all over the world, those are the ones you're competing with. So think about that.